I'm sorry. We're just gonna have to deal with it a little bit. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Alright guys, hi again. This is the list, the thing that I've been spamming in your general direction for a while. Alright, so, spoiler free. Yeah. As always, you guys were pretty good about everything. There was a couple times we got lost that people could have spoiled, that they didn't. I might not have minded because it got annoying, but it wasn't nearly as bad as Dragon Quest lost, so it was fine. Music rating. I really like the music in this game. I really do. It's top tier SNES music. You can tell that it's at the end of the SNES life. Everything about it's really good. Lots of different tracks and stuff like that. It all fits the game. A bunch of different scenarios, like this particular area here where we're like in an underwater area right now, in the place that was Thor something. It might have just been called Thor, the area. Either way, when we're in that fortress, it definitely gets the point across. It's a mysterious area, you're not sure what's going on and things like that. And I love atmospheric music, especially when it was made like really early in video games. It's really well done. Top tier SNES stuff. I'm gonna definitely give that a 9 out of 10. Graphics for the era. That's another on-point thing for the SNES. Again, at the end of the SNES life, you can see that they like really went into full detail with a lot of things. The character models themselves might have not had the most detail when it came to emotion and things like that, but they still made an effort. They showed some type of expression and things like that in the cutscenes. You can tell what the characters were thinking. There was tears. The battle animations and stuff like that were really well done. I'd say what was lacking for me in this game was kind of like the dungeon designs and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that the dungeons did not look good. Like, the dungeons looked great. It didn't really seem like there was very many reused assets all over the place, even though I'm sure there were. The towns could have looked a little bit better, I think. Most of the towns kind of looked the same. There was like 3 different types of towns. You had your deserty type town, you had your town around the water, and then you had your town that was kind of in a forest. And they all pretty much looked the same, but they're not really the appeal of the game in the first place. The world map looked cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9 for the SNES as well. Really, 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 really solid graphics for that era. Story. I want to say that the story might be one of the weaker points of the game. It's not bad. It's an interesting concept. We're traveling through time. It came a little bit cliche that we had to go even further into the future then to kill Deus one more time, because that tends to be what happens in time travel type games. But the story overall was interesting. We had a big goon in front of us that was trying to destroy the world. We never really questioned it. We probably should have at some point or another. There was time travel mechanics. I love the fact that there's summons, magic, how the magic was portrayed differently in the world and stuff like that. Based on what time it was because of the mana tree being affected, or sorry, the life tree it was called in this one. It was nothing incredible for the SNES era. There were games that I feel like I was a little bit more absorbed in, but it had like that anime feel to it, which I know a lot of people don't like, but there was a lot more, I don't really want to call it character, or to go as far as to call it character development, but it was, in a way. You could see that Tales nature, where it started, where the characters like clicking and like messing around with each other and everything else was very important to the creators of this game, and it was really neat to see that shine through. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that, but you got to know the characters, and their charms, and you know, their good aspects, their bad aspects, and things like that. The fan translation, I feel, kind of hindered that a little bit, but I'm not going to take points away from that. Because it was a fan translation, and they did creative liberties overall. But again, it wasn't an overly amazing story. It didn't blow my mind. There was a few things here and there I was kind of like, I didn't expect that. But it definitely wasn't generic. It was interesting. It was a lot of fun to play. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the story I'm gonna give it a 7. Alright, so the mechanics. The battle mechanics of the game are kind of messy at first. They don't really explain that you can attack upward, you can attack forward, the difference between a slash attack, the difference between stab attack damage, slash attack damage. A lot of the mechanics of the game were kind of relatively unexplained. As you start to learn a little bit more about it, you learn the most important thing is to stagger enemies. The less opportunities you give them to attack you, the better. So anything that you can do to make that happen is beneficial to you. And you could power level and probably become really strong and just like kill stuff quicker and not have to deal with that or take less damage. But there are alternatives to that. There's spell chaining, there's a whole bunch of different stuff. It's not all very fluid and cohesive, but it works. And as long as you're keeping the melee attacker up there dealing damage, kind of keeping his body in front of everybody else, the casters can kind of do whatever they want. I do feel, however, that the amount of the encounters in the game really did mess with the combat. I feel like it made it overstay its welcome near the end of the game, especially with the types of fights that you had to do, and then how like your attacks that had been doing thousands of damage to enemies are now doing hundreds, and now the enemies, instead of having a couple thousand HP, are having tens of thousands of HP. It just didn't change or get fast or stay fast. And not to mention that the battles themselves were somewhat RNG heavy, maybe even heavily RNG heavy. If a particular boss or enemy got certain attacks off before you could do anything, you were pretty much dead, or you couldn't move. There's a lot of chaining that the enemies could do to you as well, and whereas the enemies blocked a lot or had abilities that they could cast or do that could kind of get them out of that type of stuff, you don't have as much of that. So there was many times where I died almost instantaneously, and maybe there was things I could do to prevent that, but I didn't figure them out. But I didn't need them, so that's okay. So I'm not going to knock it for that either. The puzzles and the dungeons and stuff like that were okay. They weren't overly difficult. Some of them were fun. Some of them were pretty intuitive as well. The dungeons themselves were mostly good. There was a few that were really long and added nothing as you went on. They were just very long and tedious. Add to that all the battles as well, and the fact that you're fighting the same battles again and again and again, and pretty much doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it kind of becomes a resource management type thing, because you want to get through the dungeon as quickly as possible, and you don't want to have to keep backtracking and everything else. So I had a lot of fun with the combat. Some of the bosses were really cool. Some of the techniques and stuff like that were really cool. But if they cut the encounter rate maybe even in half, I would have been okay with that. There's just, if someone plays through that game and they fight absolutely every battle they get in, even using like holy bottles, they're going to add an extra 10 to 15 hours onto their game. Just doing battles that give legitimately nothing to them. A tiny bit of experience. There were some battles I had to refight that gave 10 to 15 experience and no gold, but I was fighting them every 2 to 3 steps for a while. And there's no reason for something like that. Unless you're looking to grind, then maybe you do want to get as many battles as possible. But it was just a really solid RPG, especially for its time. There was a whole bunch of different elements going on with the summoning and the magic. We had a flying Pegasus at one point. We had an airship. We had boats. We had a lot of different stuff going on. The world wasn't all that big. It was maybe altogether like 10 towns, and then those towns were then reused multiple times. So the world really wasn't that big, even though it took a long time to traverse. And there was a lot of backtracking in this game without very good direction. So again, where the encounters kind of made it a little frustrating. So I'm going to say that the mechanics were really solid. Some things I would have changed because of the battle system being handled the way it was, with how many battles there were and things like that, and it being a little bit of a cheesy nature where bosses could kind of like chain you and you could chain them and things like that, even though that's probably something that they wanted. It wasn't always very well expressed. But I'm going to go ahead and give that a 7 as well. Alright, grinding. The one that I think most of you guys were ready to hear about. Oh yeah, you can use dark bottles too to have more battles. So, the worst game up until this point with grinding, Etrian Odyssey was pretty bad. Quest 64 was really, really, really bad. It was a couple steps. But in Quest 64, the battles were pretty quick for the most part. In Etrian Odyssey, not so much. This game was right on that cusp, honestly. I don't know how much grinding you really had to do. I think that you could maybe get to the final boss at maybe in the 30s or 40s and potentially still beat it as long as you're able to do damage to it. And you can, maybe there's some goofy way to chain it or something like that, or every boss has some type of goofy way to chain it. But holy crap, you just can't avoid battles in this game. You can't. Even with the holy bottles, it definitely reduces it, but not enough. Not even to an amount that is, like, relatively okay in some places. I don't want to say it was as bad as Etrian Odyssey because Etrian Odyssey required grinding, but this game definitely required you to do a lot of fights. There was just no getting around it. You could not avoid them. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3. The encounter rate was a bit too much for my liking. And I think overall, the game's kind of between a 7 and an 8 for me. It's something I'd probably replay. I'm actually interested to see the GBA version and the PlayStation version to see how they added to it and things like that. I really had a lot of fun playing this game. I did enjoy it quite a bit more than I did Dragon Quest, surprisingly, and I had a lot of fun with Dragon Quest as well. Just the nice, comfy nature of that game. But yeah, this is something I'd recommend to people for an SNES game if you're looking into it. But it would not go without that warning of be very careful with the battle system. It's not very well understood, and it's not easy to take on, and you're gonna die. Even if you're perfect at the game, you're gonna die on occasion. Well, unless you're perfect, I guess, and don't make one misstep in any general direction. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7. Not quite reaching that 8 territory for me, but really, really, really good game, and very close to an 8 in my mind. Again, the amount of combat really started to kill it for me towards the end. It made me dislike something that I really liked, which you should never do to a player, in my opinion. But maybe there are people that enjoyed it all the way through, and those battles were a challenge or a testament to them to be able to do something else. Alright, so let me look what you guys voted here. I'm gonna grab the calculator, do some maths. Sorry for putting the calculator in the Phantificator. Alright. And thank you for voting, guys. I really appreciate it. Alright. I think that's all the votes. Yep. $12 people, I think. Alright, you guys gave it a 7.3, so we'll round that up to a 7.5. So you guys are relatively close to where I was. I wasn't quite getting it to a 7.8, and I don't round to 7.5 on mine, so will I replay the game? Yeah. Probably the PlayStation version, if I can speak. Alright, today is the 1st of February. And it took us 30 hours, 20 minutes, and 22 seconds to beat this. Alright, guys. That means you know what time it is now. That means that it is raffle time. All you have to do is type in the word raffle, and you'll be entered for the chance to win and pick the next game that I play. Everyone has equal opportunity and equal chance. If you're here for JRPGs or if you're here for Tales games, there's plenty of those to play. Plenty of games on the list. And again, this is how I'm going to decide all the games that I play going forward. Just gotta type in the word raffle. Even if you mostly lurk and things like that, that's 100% okay. You can type in that word. If you win, you get to pick the next game. And again, I'm gonna post the list here. If everyone wants to start taking a look at it to kind of get an idea of what games you might potentially pick and stuff like that. Again, Nightbot will be entering this raffle. If Nightbot actually has, if Nightbot wins, we will have a list of 5 games that you guys can choose from. And out of those 5 games, whatever gets the most votes will be the next game that I play. Kind of a way for me to be able to incorporate a little bit of games that I want to play as well into the list, even though it's unlikely that Nightbot wins. I just want to make you guys aware if that happens, that it's just not rigged or anything like that. You guys still definitely have a choice. In fact, everyone gets a choice at that point. Very suspicious. Yes, they both start with N. You're down to 3 games. Well, you're narrowing it down, Pistol McAwesome. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. And we'll talk a little bit about what the next game's going to be as well. We got Pokemon Coliseum, which I think I spelled wrong, by the way. I think I copy-pasted that from somebody, too. Oh well. I can't think right now when it comes to that. That's fine, Legacy. Honestly, if you had any like JRPGs that you liked and stuff like that, it's fine. There's no expectations from anyone here. This is all for fun. This is all a journey that we're taking together. And whatever gets picked, gets picked. Some of your favorites are already done. Where's Edgar? What do you mean, where's Edgar? Thank you. Since, you know, I feel like an idiot and everything about it. So, we do have Pokemon coming in the mail tomorrow. Hopefully it's here before I get home from work so that we can start streaming right away. If not, we might have to stream later or maybe wait until Saturday. I ordered it a couple days ago. Unfortunately, it's taking a little bit to get here. Alright, guys! Oh, Edgar. So, let's do this thing. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. Streamed a little bit longer than I expected to tonight, but that's okay. Good luck, everyone! Three, 2, 1! Wow! Are you becoming the next lucky person, Lord Krellian? Is that what's happening? All right, go ahead and let me know you're there, Lord Krellian. You guess so? That's 2 for you now, I think, right? Yeah, that's 2 for you. No EO? Breath of Fire 4 or Romancing Saga 2? I am curious of Romancing Saga 2 to see the updated version of it. I haven't looked into that at all. Tales of the Abyss. Alright, that's fine, man. You've talked about the game so much in chat. I'm curious to see what I think. We got another Tails game, guys. For those of you that are here for Tails, we're playing Pokemon Coliseum next, and then we will be playing Tales of the Abyss after that. We're getting into the Tails games now. Oh, wait, Rufia, like, are you ever gonna play Tales of Phantasia? Alright, Lord Krellian, thank you for taking the time to make that pick. I really appreciate that. And thank you again, all of you that stuck around. I really appreciate that too. But we're gonna do one more thing here for tonight. We're gonna go ahead and raid, because we don't do that very often. But we're at the very least gonna start doing it on Raffle nights, because we got a lot of people here. It's a lot of fun, and we get to show some support to other people as well. So let's look for someone to raid here. Someone to spam the crap out of. Okay. So, a little bit of backstory on this guy. Colford the Barbarian, very good friend of mine. He is doing some Yoshi's Island. Former world record holder of Yoshi's Island. He was actually at AGDQ this year and did the Yoshi's Island race. He's a really awesome dude. Does lots of different speedruns, does some casual stuff called the Gaming Gauntlet, where it's his goal to play every one of his Steam games. He does it just like I do. He has a review and a raffle at the end of each one, and if you win, you get to pick the next game. So, let's think of what we want to do here. Let's go ahead and take, yes, let's go ahead and take what, Fidel Infidel spam there. We're gonna go ahead and spam this. So let me get the raid ready, guys. And I want you guys to spam, but before that, do we play the FOE song? Do we play the FOE song? I don't want you guys to spam FOE, but do we play that song to get this raid going? Is that going to be our tradition for raids? Feels bad, man. Alright, guys. I want everyone to spam Barbarian raid, okay? You can copy paste it from somebody if you want, but I'm gonna start the raid here. We're gonna start the music. Oops, I did not mean to maximize the screen. All right, here we go. And this is the music that we play. Cracks me up every time. This is a meme now. Alright guys, spam it! You're not supposed to spam FOE, Ruben! Thank you everybody, I really appreciate that. You guys are freaking awesome.